Yes, Prabhuji, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji, we can start our call.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandraya Vedase Raghunathaya Nathaya Sitaya Pataye Namaha Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yenam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namam Vishnu Padayam Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedhantam Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So first of all, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada, and it is a pleasure to be in the assembly of Vaishnavas to glorify the Supreme Lord. And today we are going to have some pastimes as well as some lessons from the pastimes of Lord Sri Ram, Sita Ram. On the 10th of this month, at least in India, it is on 10th of this month, we have Mother Sita's appearance day. So when Haridila Prabhu, reached out to me, I thought we will discuss glories of Mother Sita. The Vedic literatures are meant to help us progress this human form of life. Wherever we have been struggling to practice Krishna consciousness, the Lord comes forward and try to somehow or other make some necessary arrangements so that we get to learn lessons. We have, by some unfortunate choice, left the eternal association of the Lord and fell down to this Pratyaloka, where birth, death, old age, disease cycle is constantly after us. Somehow or other, we will have to go back to our original home. Whilst we will have to put our endeavor, the Lord is saying, I will reciprocate also. So the Lord helps us by Him personally coming and performing some pastimes. And those pastimes are not just meant for the Lord's pleasure, it is also meant for us to learn lessons. When Vedavyas divided the entire Vedic literature, this Itihasa portion, Ramayana, Mahabharata, these Itihasas are meant for those people who cannot even directly understand the complicated Vedic science, so that just through the form of stories, just by hearing some stories, our heart will get purified and there's an opportunity to learn. So Ramayana is such a compilation that I guess most of us would have heard it umpteen number of times. But how much ever time we hear, it is always ever refreshing and ever purifying. And it is very nice and imperative that we learn to draw some lessons. We learn to draw some principles for our practices from these pastimes, so that the real purpose for which the pastimes were enacted will get fulfilled. So when the Lord personally descended, both as Lord Rama, Lord Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nrsimha, he has different functions. One function is for sure to re-establish the lost dharma. Other function is to protect the devotees. Other function is to annihilate the demons. Other function is for him to enjoy. But the most important function that the Lord leaves behind is lessons for all of us to learn for years to come. So today we will churn Srimad Ramayana. We are not going to see one section, we are going to see several sections of Ramayana and pick up some lessons which will help us in our practice of Krishna consciousness. This lessons of, or these lessons from Srimad Ramayana will not only help us practice Krishna consciousness or practice our devotional life, it will also help us in making sure to re-establish, to revive the Varnashrama Dharma. So, Sri Ramachandra Prabhu, when he descended, of course, Dasaratha Maharaj was very concerned that he didn't have any offspring, he didn't have any child. So out of 60,000 queens that King Dasaratha had, there are 3 primary queens, and he got the blessings from the rishis and munis, and after long tapasya, Lord Ram appeared. So as soon as Lord Ram appeared, out of curiosity, because he was waiting for this day for a long, long time, Dasaratha was interested in knowing the bhavishya, the future of his son and his dynasty. Because the dynasty in which Lord Ram appeared is not an ordinary one. It is Ikshvaku Kula. Very great kings have appeared in the dynasty of Lord Ram. Valmiki Rishi just describes Lord Ram's dynasty in a very elaborate manner for us to know that the Supreme Lord, by the virtue of him taking appearance in a particular kula, the kula gets glorious. And the converse is also true. The Lord chooses sometimes a very great lineage for performing his Leela. So, when Dasaratha checked the horoscope of his children as well as his dynasty, he got a shock of his life. He said the astrology Vasishta Rishi and all the Rishis, when they checked, they said two things. They said, for sure, your son is going to rule the entire universe. But they also said he has to go through lot of challenges, and probably when he is reaching the stage of coronation, you will have to leave your body, my dear Dasaratha. So this was not a very good news that Dasaratha wanted to share with anyone. So technically, Dasaratha did not share this news with anyone. He kept it to himself, but for his driver, chariot driver, who knew this. And eventually, we have heard that how Dasaratha was very, very protective of Lord Ram. Because he has already heard from the Rishis that Rama's journey, growing days are not going to be easy. So he was very protective, possessive, and superlatively attached to Lord Ram. Eventually, after Vishwamitra's request of having Lord Ram and Lakshmana to accompany him in the forest, finally the wedding of Lord Ram and Mother Sita happened. So it is very nicely explained, and the union or the marriage of Mother Sita with Lord Ram was such a glorious ceremony that all the 14 planetary systems, all the heavenly, people in the heavenly planetary systems and everywhere, they participated. There is a saint by name Saint Tyagaraja of Dakshin Bharat. He has wonderfully glorified, wonderfully sung songs just to glorify Mother Sita and Lord Ram's wedding. He said it's just not a ordinary event. It is a celebration for the entire universe. Pavanaja Stuti Patra Pavana Charitra Ravi Shoma Varanetra Ramaniya Gatra Sita Kalyana Vaibhavame Rama Kalyana Vaibhavame Pavanaja Stuti Patra Pavana Charitra. He who is praised by Hanuman. Pavanaja means the son of Pavan, Pavana Putra. Pavanaja Stuti Patra Pavana Charitra. The personality whose character is absolutely pure. Ravi Shoma Varanetra, whose eyes are, Ravi Shoma, sun and moon, and whose movements are very beautiful. To such a Lord who was just married with Mother Sita, what a wonderful celebration to witness is this. The Lord gets complete when he is with his consort. The Lord is complete when he is with his devotees. The Lord personally said, Krishna is saying this to Arjuna, it's a reference from Padma Puran, where he says, my dear Arjuna, this world is incomplete I am incomplete without my devotees. Especially the Lord's eternal consort, Lakshmi, Sita Mata, they are all eternal associate, and not just an associate, they are supreme goddess of fortune. In the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, in the Samudra Manthan Leela, Sukadeva Goswami Pad very nicely explained when Lakshmi Devi appeared from the churning of milk ocean, how she is greeted, how she is welcomed, how she is worshipped. And after that, there's a very wonderful place where he explains how she is searching for her Swami in every person around. And she finally goes and garlands the Supreme Lord, and very chastely, in a shy posture, she's standing there for the Lord to accept her to eternally reside in his Vakshasthala. That is why the Lord's another name is called Sri Vatsa. In one whose bosom, in one whose chest, Lakshmi reside. And it is explained by Srila Prabhupada writes there in the purport, because of the presence of the goddess of fortune, who is the possessor of all the opulences. What we explain, the characteristics of the Supreme Lord, Shad Aishwarya Paripurna Saman, one who possesses all the 6 opulences. The Prabhupada writes there, the actual possessor of opulence is Mother Lakshmi. And because she is eternally residing with the Lord is the possessor of those opulences. So technically, the Lord has Lakshmi, Lakshmi has those opulences, and hence the Lord became completely, fully opulent. So, the Lord, from his Leela of union with his consort, he establishes how he is complete. Of course, he is complete with Radha and Krishna. He is complete with his Gopas. He is complete when he is with his devotees, but he is never complete in that sense from his bhavana, from his mood. Of course, he is Swarat, he is from a, philosophical, technical understanding. There is nobody who needs to support for the Lord's existence. But the Lord is never alone. He is always with his dear devotees and his eternal consort. So Lakshmi Devi, who is Mother Sita, so she is always available and her only focus is to serve the Lord. So when we talk about the Navavidha Bhakti, we explain how Lakshmi Devi is performing Pada Sevanam, how she is performing her service to the Supreme Lord, how she is performing Archanam, how she is performing Vandanam, how she is performing all the services. She is eternally residing with the Lord. So she is not only the supreme goddess of fortune, she is also the supreme servant of the Supreme Lord. So how Balaram is the supreme servitor of the supreme servitor personality of Godhead, similarly Lakshmi Devi is also like that. They are all expansions of Srimati Radharani. Radharani performed Parakya Vipralamba Seva, and Lakshmi Devi did Swakya Seva, where she was always residing with Krishna. So the first lesson of this particular session is about learning from Mother Sita that she is making the Lord complete by her eternal service to the Supreme Lord, and she does not have any other agenda but for serving the Supreme Lord. So in a sadhaka's life, in a practitioner's life, we need to definitely learn to remain focused. Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandana bahu shakaki anantasya buddhayo vyavasayinam. A person who is resolute in his path, he has got only one attention, only one focus. Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur is giving an explanation to this particular shloka. He says that the real meaning of this shloka is for a disciple, for a sadhaka, for a student, accepting the mission of his Swami, his Guru, is his life and soul. There is no other agenda for that person. For him, whatever his Guru wants, his entire life. Like Srila Prabhupada, what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura wanted, that was his life and soul. So from that perspective, for Mother Sita, from the time she accepted Lord Rama, she didn't have any other agenda but to serve and satisfy Lord Sri Rama. So our first lesson is, in our journey to Krishna consciousness, if we learn to accept the mission of our spiritual master, learn to accept the mission of the Supreme Lord as our life's goal, and reprioritize, reorganize, reconstitute our life around that, then we are better off. And we should learn to organize ourselves in that capacity. This is the first lesson. Let's little fast forward in the Katha. Kaikeyi has already called Lord Rama and told that you will have to go to the forest for 14 long years, and there is an agenda I have already discussed with your dad. So just 15-20 minutes or a half an hour, 1 hour before, Dasaratha had told Lord Ram that tomorrow or the next day was the coronation ceremony. And little later, Kaikeyi said that you have to leave to the forest right now. Valmiki Rishi explains, both when he heard about the coronation ceremony and as well as when he heard about being banished to be in the forest for 14 long years, the facial expression, the excitement, the responsiveness that Lord Ram showed was same. He was never too excited or never got too sorrow. He was completely balanced. It is explained that the practicing devotee should go beyond, go above Dvandva Moha, dualities. So Lord Rama was preparing to leave. At that time, Mother Sita was hardly few days or few weeks newly married, has just come to Ayodhya. So she said, Swami, where are you leaving? So Ram said the details. She said that I will also come. Lord Rama said that I am sorry, I am not taking you with me. I understand it is really going to be a challenge for you to be without me for 14 years. But please note that the place I am going is not safe. I do not know where I will stay, what I will eat, how my movements are going to be. And you are being brought up in a very tender, very protective manner by King Janaka. I have made a promise to your father that I will look after you nicely. So please don't come with me. It will be a big disturbance or big trouble for you. Mother Sita started to cry. Mother Sita said, my dear Swami, my dear Prabhu, how did you think that I will feel comfortable whilst you are undergoing discomfort? How do you think I will be comfortable in your absence? How did you think that I am interested in my external comfort whilst my dearmost is living an ascetic life and my life is centered around you? As soon as you leave me alone, I will not be able to survive. I have not come here for your family comfort, for the palatial palace, for the royal treatment, for any of those things. I have come here to be with you, so you have to take me along with you. So this context here itself is a very interesting lesson. In our journey to Krishna consciousness, when we are trying to serve the Supreme Lord, we need to learn to go out of our comfort zone to eventually voluntarily accept the challenges or pain if it is to serve the mission. Mother Sita's traveling with Lord Ram happened to be the mission central point of the entire Ramayana. The Leela itself wouldn't have happened further had Mother Sita not traveled with Lord Ram. Of course, we can always debate from all angles, but we know the entire storyline. So we know how Lord Ram is the supreme personality of Godhead. So from that perspective, every moment or a lesson. So Mother Sita's choice of going out of the comfort zone, we could have, nobody forced her. Kaikeyi's demand was not Mother Sita to travel. It was not even part of the order. It was she who forced herself, in spite of telling that there will not be any comfort, there will not be proper food to eat, place to stay. Dhruva Maharaj, when he was going to the forest, Narada Muni questioned Dhruva Maharaj these questions. Where are you going, my dear boy? There will be ferocious animals. You will not have kids to play around. You will not have proper food to eat, proper place to sleep. You will really have a very uncomfortable situation if you go into the forest. Dhruva Maharaj said, my dear sir, please excuse me. If you can help me in seeing the Supreme Lord, please do that. Otherwise, I am a Kshatriya. I made up my mind to go forward. I will go. Prabhupada writes there that the determination showed by Maharaj Duruva was actually the character required for a practicing devotee, and the questions asked by Narada Muni were the questions a spiritual master asked the disciple to evaluate his readiness. So it was a perfect spiritual master and disciple combination. Similarly, in this place, Sita Mata demonstrated the perfect servitorship. Of course, what to speak of Lakshmana? Lakshmana demonstrated one step more than Mother Sita's. In fact, Lakshmana's entire 14 years stay in Vanavas, he had not slept, he had not eaten. His responsibility was to look after Sita Ram. He walked in such a manner. In fact, there was one particular place in Ramayana where after Ravana kidnapped Mother Sita, this Vanara is coming and showing the jewelry. Because Mother Sita threw some of her jewelries and they came and brought and showed to Lakshmana and Lord Ram. So Lord Ram asked Lakshmana, can you recognize these ornaments if they belong to Mother Sita? Lakshmana usually is very upfront and come forward to serve. This time he put his head down and said, my dear brother, I'm so sorry. Because all these years, I have only seen the lotus feet of Mother Sita. I have not even seen her face. So how will I be able to recognize her ornaments? This may sound like an exaggeration, but that's the servitor mode. The entire Ramayana, if you look at every nuances, there is a lesson. So the second lesson that I want to register here is about, as a practicing devotee, as a surrendered devotee, as a missionary, we should learn to go out of our comfort zone for the pleasure of the Lord, following the footsteps of our spiritual authorities. And that should be our life's goal. So Mother Sita voluntarily accepted that for her, and she was not ready to relinquish that at any cost. Even her own Swami saying no, which means a disciple is so committed, a student, practitioner is so committed to serve the Lord to an extent, the Lord is absolutely served and looked after, pleased. This is number 2. Third lesson is, when Mother Sita was in Ashokavan, Ashok Vatika, at that time, Hanuman arrived there. When Hanuman arrived, so initially Hanuman was also hesitant how to go and present himself. Because Hanuman was sitting on the tree and he was witnessing the scene around. Ravana came and kind of harassed Mother Sita. There were so many Rakshasis. So Mother Sita was in a very, very fragile state. So in no way Hanuman wanted to really go and frighten Mother Sita. So he started to sing the glories of Lord Rama. So in that forest, in that particular isolated location, when she was feeling separation from Lord Ram, as soon as she heard the glories of Lord Ram, she was so happy and she immediately felt very elated. So then she saw Hanuman. For a moment, she got so excited, and for the next moment, she got afraid. Because just few minutes later, Ravana came and challenged her, saying that I will give you 1 month time. If you don't accept my plea, I will go and chop off your husband's head, kill him, and come and accept you. I will go any extent to have you as my consort. So that was a statement Ravana said few minutes before. So suddenly she thought, so this might be Ravana in disguise. So then Hanuman exchanged few informations that Lord Rama had told, which is very confidential. And when Hanuman established that he is a real student of Lord Rama, Mother Sita started to cry, weep, and saying that, where is my Swami? How come he is not come yet? The Hanuman gave all the necessary message. Then after some time, Hanuman said, my dear mother, why don't you come with me right now? I can carry you back. Mother Sita explained that the goal of life for me is to establish work in such a manner that my Prabhu's name is glorified all over the universe. It has to be my Prabhu who has to come and win over me from the situation. It will be an insult, or it will not be such glorious arrangement if I come back with you, my dear Hanuman. I wish that I come with you, but at the same time, I wanted Lord Ram's glories to be sung and heard all over the universe. But at the same time, I am not able to live in separation from Lord Ram. So tell my Swami that I have only 1 month. Within that time, if he doesn't come and rescue me from this situation, I will give up my life. So the third lesson that I want to establish here, register here is, Mother Sita had an opportunity. She also said another statement to Hanuman. She said, you are a brahmachari. I have not touched anyone after my marriage, any man apart from my Prabhu. How can I come with you? Of course, she also made some funny comments that you are a monkey. So I do not want to trust you. What if you jump here and there and push me down? So it will all be very risky. But her main point was she wanted to establish the glory of Lord Ram and also want to establish her Pativrata. So the lesson that we are learning here is, even though there are opportunities for the disciple to look after, to escape the challenge route, the disciple's interest is accept the challenge if it means to glorify his master. So the chastity that she demonstrated, the chastity that Mother Sita behold, is a role model one. Every time when we talk about the quality of chastity, Mother Sita is definitely discussed as one of the important person there. And the quality of chastity is not only associated with a woman or a feminine character. Chastity is is a kind of purity that a person need to inculcate in his devotion towards his master. So from that perspective, every disciple, every student, every practitioner need to show the sign of chastity in his devotion towards Supreme Lord, which means let us not show any adulteration for slightest comfort of our own personal life over the principles. Mother Sita had plenty of options, but she chose not to. In our journey to Krishna consciousness, we need to definitely learn to be a chaste disciple, to be a chaste student, to be a chaste follower, to be a very loyal and righteous one, not to sell ourselves for any temporary, intermittent, as well as something that will put down the glory of our Supreme Lord or his dear master. Dear students. Fourth lesson. Finally, Lord Ram killed Ravana and Vibhishana made a arrangement to give a Vimana for going back to Ayodhya. That Vimana is a very special Vimana. In that Vimana, according to the owner or the person who is the Mukhya, important person who is in the Vimana, that airplane can actually expand to accommodate as many people as the owner of the Vimana desires. So, Lord Ram requested Sugriva, saying that, my dear friend, you guys have helped me a lot. So I think I should take you all with me to Ayodhya. So all the monkey Vanaras were so excited, so happy. So they all jumped into the Vimana. Mother Sita was brought in. And Lord Ram said, please take me to the battlefield where the battle had happened. Because I promised you, my dear Sugriva, that not even one monkey you will have to lose in your service for me. I know that several monkeys were killed in the fight. So Lord Rama went and glanced over the entire Vanara who were lying dead. Just by the divine glance, all the monkeys got back their life. They got up as if they just woke up of their slumber. And Lord Rama brought them back to life, and Sugriva was so happy, so indebted, and all the other monkeys started to jump up and down. And finally everybody boarded and the airplane left for Ayodhya. So Lord Ram was showing to Mother Sita so different places. So this is the place where we were camping. This is the place where I was searching for you. Look at this bridge. This Vanara constructed to cross over to come to rescue you. And like that, Ram was showing all the places and Mother Sita was enjoying. When she was enjoying, suddenly, when she heard about all the wonderful services of the Vanara, she got so happy because these all monkeys, they did so much for Ramachandra Prabhu and for getting her back. She suddenly told, my dear Prabhu, these all monkeys are with you for quite a while. And these monkeys' wives and children at their home might be really missing them. Along with these monkeys, they also did a sacrifice in the service. I wish if you allow, we go to Kishkinda, even take those people along with us to Ayodhya, because they do deserve a royal treatment for the sacrifice. What a profound, magnanimous thought that was. We always think that just because I did service, I deserve a royal treatment. I always, have noticed this in several big festivals and events. There are a lot of devotees who are on the front end, able to witness the event and try to participate. But there are so many devotees who are behind the scene, the kitchen area, in the DT area, in several places. Due to their service, they are not able to come. I've heard and I've seen Srila Prabhupada and some of Prabhupada's disciples, Radhanath Maharaj, Jayapataka Maharaj, Gopal Krishna Maharaj, whenever they come to this festival or such places, they make sure they go and visit kitchen and those back-end team. It is as if I am coming to give you a blessing for the sacrifice, because they missed the kirtan, lecture, comforts, looked after all of us. So by these Vanara Senas, the family's sacrifice, even though they did a silent sacrifice, even though they did not fight, contribute, take up any extraordinary endeavor, just because they just let their family, let their husband go away and perform their service for such a long time, credit was given. Shastra explains an Ardangini, just by assisting, supporting the service of her husband, she gets the credit just because of that support. So Mother Sita requested Lord Rama, please take the airplane. We will carry these wives of Vanaras with us. So my fourth lesson is, the Lord reciprocates in an unimaginable manner. We can't even imagine how the Lord reciprocates for the slightest, smallest service that you would have rendered to Him. Yesterday evening in our weekly satsang, we were discussing this from 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, text 41. Suchinam Srimatam Gehe. Prabhupada explains in the purport, even for an unsuccessful yogi in this process of Krishna consciousness, he is rewarded. Of course, he has to come back, or he has to, go through the exercise of completing what he began. But the Lord did not punish for his unsuccessfulness. Rather, he rewarded them, gave them heavenly planets, let them enjoy the heavenly planets. Then when they have to come back, he makes them take birth in aristocratic or Brahmana family. And by that way, he is trying to give an opportunity for the unsuccessful yogi also. So in this path, there is no loss or diminution. So the Lord is very, very magnanimous. When we describe about Chaitanya's glories, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's glories, we discuss that how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is amazingly magnanimous, amazingly munificent, and amazingly merciful. And we see here that mercy component, that magnanimity component coming from Mother Sita. She is motherly. That is what is mother. So Mother Sita, looked after not only those who looked after the Lord, she looked after those who looked after Lord's servants. So it is very important for us to understand that mood. Gopi Bharta Padakamalayur, Dasa, 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 Anudasa. These people are the home were servants of the Vanaras, so they also get the credit. I'll just slightly take an offshoot. One time, Ramanujacharya was giving a Bhagavad Ramayana class. So, when Ramanujacharya was explaining how great Lord Ram is, so he was giving different anecdotes. And one of the aspects that he explained of Lord Ram's glories were acceptance of Vibhishana. He said, look at Lord Ram. Even though Vibhishana is Ram's enemy's brother family, he did not hesitate because Vibhishana took shelter of Lord Ram's lotus feet. So everybody said, Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram. One student in the class said, my dear Gurudev, what is so special in this? What is so great in this? Lord Ram is Supreme Lord. He accepted, student, I don't see anything great. Lord Ram's acceptance of Vibhishana is not so great or that much great as much as he accepted those three people who came with Vibhishana. Those three people who came along with Vibhishana to surrender to Lord Ram, they surrendered to Vibhishana. They didn't even know who Lord Ram was to that extent of Vibhishana. Just because they surrendered to Vibhishana, you accepted them also. That is the Lord's glories. So the message was, the student was trying to explain, my dear Prabhu, my dear Gurudev, we don't understand who Lord Ram is. We know you. So you accept us by your glories, by serving you. Probably Lord Ram will accept us. So the mood here is that we learn to recognize down the line. There are several people who are doing service. So very, very magnanimous. So the fourth lesson from this is about Mother Sita's, recognizing magnanimity, broad-mindedness, and try to accommodate everyone who did service to the Lord. So she wanted to serve back, look after. Very, very nice. This is a perfect servitor mood. You don't only look after your spiritual master, you don't only look after the Supreme Lord, you also look after whom they look after. You love whom they love. That's love. The last lesson, fifth one. So the coronation ceremony was done. So one day, one washerman. So this washerman was very upset with his wife, who came home very late. So this washerman, out of anger, she spoke to his wife, where have you been? Whose house have you been? That you are coming home so late. What do you think of myself? Do you think that such a behavior I will accept? I am not Ramachandra who accepts his wife in spite of she being in someone else's house for such a long time. That's all he spoke. This news eventually reached Lord Rama. So Lord Rama was very disturbed hearing this. To cut the long story short, it's very emotional and very important stage in Ramayana. So Lord Rama wanted to establish a standard that if I am a leader, I should set a very strict and a rigid standard. So Lord Ram next day called Lakshmana and said, my dear Lakshmana, I need you to do a favor. You take Mother Sita with you tomorrow and leave her in the forest and come. Lakshmana thought, oh my God, what the service that I've been given. Of course, when we speak about some other time, we can talk about the tough services that comes your way. On this Ramayana, Ramanavami recently, we had a katha discussing a few more lessons from Ramayana. So, Lakshmana was given that service. Lakshmana took a sankalpa. This is the last time I will be your younger brother. Never ever in my life I want to become your younger brother. Any other Leela, don't put me in such a position. This is so difficult. What are you doing to Mother Sita, Bhaiya? So finally, Lord Ram is Lord Ram. So he insisted that please drop her off. So Lakshmana next day is carrying Mother Sita as if he is taking her around to for sightseeing, just to stroll around or go around. Mother Sita very happily was going around, and they went inside forest. They went to different hermitages. There were different places. And when they reached near Valmiki's ashram, Lakshmana requested, my dear mother, I am sorry to say that I have been asked to drop you off here and come. Mother Sita couldn't hear what he said. She couldn't believe what she heard. When Lakshmana said again that because of some allegations, some rumors, some people doubting the character, Bhaiya wanted you to stay away for some time. So as soon as she heard, she fainted. She fainted and somehow she got up and said, my dear Lakshmana, I want to ask forgiveness from you. I was thinking, what a stupid lady I am. At the time when Maricha came as golden deer, and when Lord Rama's voice came, I insisted you, I forced you to go and attend Lord Rama. You repeatedly said not to worry, but I forced you. When you did not go, I accused you, my dear Lakshmana, with so much of painful words. I doubted your character. I doubted your integrity. I offended you. And I am suffering today because of that. Please forgive me, my dear son. Can you imagine a lady who had been chased all through her life, never thought of anyone apart from Lord Rama? She has already been done one time Agni Pariksha. She has already suffered a lot. Now she's banished. And she's not blaming Lord Ram. She's taking responsibility. It is because of my mistake I am undergoing this punishment. So the fifth and most important lesson is, as a servant, as a student, as a practitioner, we should learn to give all the credits of success to our spiritual master and to the Supreme Lord, and take absolute responsibility for every failure upon ourselves. It is easily said than done, but in the journey of a practitioner, unless or otherwise we take responsibility of our mistakes, we have a sense of accountability for our actions, we will not make necessary progress. So Lakshmana was so embarrassed, wasn't sure. He started crying. He said, "Let my life go right now, rather than being in such a difficult, tough situation." Of course, the storyline did not end here. She went and stayed in Valmiki's ashram. And in Valmiki's ashram, she had a wonderful stay. She was very, very well looked after. And the storyline goes, but I would like to stop here. So we learned 5 lessons as well as several wonderful glories from Srimad Ramayana. Lesson number 1, how by being the perfect servant, perfect companion, perfect student, perfect disciple, perfect follower, Mother Sita completes Lord Ram. She is always available to look after the Supreme Lord. Number 2, how Mother Sita, she is demonstrating the sense of a sincere servant to relinquish self-comfort, to come out of the comfort zone, to fulfill her servitor responsibility. Number 3, how Mother Sita demonstrates the quality of chastity as well as the quality to ensure I take up additional challenge to establish the glory of my master. Number 4, how Mother Sita shows a sign of gratitude and magnanimity and a motherly nature by including those servants who served the servants of Lord Ram. And finally, how Mother Sita demonstrates the quality of a disciple, student, and a perfect servant by taking responsibility for her mistakes and accepts the punishment as her own fault, result of her own fault, rather than blaming the Supreme Lord or the spiritual authority. So Ramayana has got wonderful pearls of lessons, but we'll stop here and take up if there are any questions or comments. We will be happy to discuss. Shri Shri Ramayana ki jai, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaurav Premanande, Hari Hari.
Hari Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for a very, very nice nectarian class, Prabhuji. You described very nicely for Mother Sita glories. So thank you so much, Prabhuji. Is there any time to take the question answer session, Prabhuji?
Yeah, I have time, no problem.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. So I request to everyone, if you have any question, any realization, any comments, so please just raise your hand or unmute yourself. And one by one, you can ask to Prabhuji. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hari Bol. If anybody have Manhani Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dhanat Pranam, all glories to Guru and Gaurang. Prabhuji, such a wonderful class that, you basically presented such a visual retreat for all of us that we were able to participate in the Leela itself. Like, really, I can tell you, we have heard many Ram Kathas, many times, we have heard the Leela, but you just narrated it so that we were listening from ears, but we were watching from our eyes. Very, very wonderful, very, very nectarian class, as Mataji said. I have just, I don't have question, Prabhuji, but I just have curiosity that when we are devotee, we see different leelas, and we are seeing Mother Sita, we are seeing Hanuman, where Mother Sita is saying, "You're a monkey. How can I trust you?" Just on a humorous part of it, hilarious. But as a devotee, how we have to get unflinching faith in Lord Ramchandra's Leelas, because just like Brahma, even Brahma can get bewildered with Krishna's Leela of drinking from someone's else's mouth. So we are very fallen souls. So how to have unflinching faith in the lotus feet of Lord?
Thank you so much for kind words, and I would definitely say all glories to Srila Prabhupada. And coming back to your question, so there are three aspects or 3 points that I would like to mention and respond to that. Number one, the question that you asked is the same question or something similar Arjuna is asking in Bhagavad Gita. More than once he asked that question. So when Arjuna was told to control his mind, to do some yoga, to reduce his sense gratificatory propensity, right from 6th chapter onwards, Krishna is already explaining to Arjuna how he need to organize himself. So Arjuna is asking a question, saying that on one side, what I desired to relinquish from fighting, I want to go to forest and take sannyas or whatever, leave behind all the responsibilities. You pulled me into this fight, and now you are telling me to perform so many things. So I am already getting into so many activities which I am not confident of. What if I am not able to completely become a transcendentalist? What if I fall down, or what if I am not able to develop necessary quotients that you are explaining me? What if I am unsuccessful? 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, shloka number 38, 39, or whatever, 35, 36, somewhere that line, Arjuna is asking. Krishna in his response is giving that in this path of endeavor, again, this is told by Krishna more than once in Bhagavad Gita, there is no loss. Neha bikrava nasosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpam apiyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. So, number one, Krishna says in this process, there is no loss or diminution. Number two, there is nothing called as unsuccessful, because even if you are apparently falling down, apparently, fizzled out from this process, for what you did, a credit is given and an opportunity is given for you to be born in a Brahmana aristocratic family and you develop. And the third aspect of it is Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching to Goswami 6 principles of Sharanagati. One of the principles of Sharanagati that he's teaching is Rakshishyati Vishwaso. Your practicing devotee has got utmost faith. So now the question is, how do I stay on? How do I, latch on to that point? Because we theoretically know it, but to live that, the practical steps that is generally taught is when we hear the pastimes of Vaishnavas. That is why generally it is encouraged that we regularly hear the pastimes of devotees, how they practice Krishna consciousness, their journey, their realizations, their reflections. That would motivate us because they have walked that path. It is like sometimes you want to go to a foreign land for the very first time. Even though you may have all technical information, you may not have very good clarity on how to proceed further. If you just spend half an hour with a person who had visited that place, how much ever technical information you would know, this personal realization would definitely help. So that is why experience of the experienced devotees association gives us enough, juice or enough inspiration for us to latch on to this process. Otherwise, on our own, just by having technical philosophical information, we may not be able to make necessary progress. We will not get the courage. We will not be able to make necessary progress in Krishna consciousness. So, number one, Krishna promise. Number two, Krishna's response to say that even there is an unsuccessful attempt, there is a reward as well as an option, opportunity, a second chance given. And number three, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings, he is reinforcing that a practicing devotee need to understand as a part of Saranagati, know that the Lord definitely protects. And there are several leelas. Draupadi, one day Krishna was taking bath. So when he was taking bath, he had, he lost his gamcha, his towel, kind of went in the water, and Krishna was within the water, he is not able to come out. Looking at Krishna's predicament, Draupadi tore from her sari a piece of cloth for the Lord to cover himself. And for that small gesture, what did Krishna do in return? He gave meters and meters and meters and meters and meters of sari. I mean, even if Draupadi had not done that, Krishna would have rescued his devotees. But I'm saying the correlation, one of the Acharya is explaining in Damodar Leela that Krishna made Yashoda Maya bring so much robes from so many houses because he is gathering all this thread, all these ropes for eventually be utilized to rescue Draupadi. So it's not only our endeavor, it's not only our desire to latch on to Krishna's lotus feet. Much, much more than us, Krishna is interested in us. Krishna has got everything, but for us with him. He has got Lakshmi, he has got, Kalpaka Vriksha, he has got Surabhi cow, he has got plenty of devotees to look after him. But he doesn't have you and me with him there. So he is just longing for us. So more than us, he is interested in us. एक बार देख ले चक्षे जाल, एक बार देख ले चक्षे जाल, गौर बोले निताई देन सकल संभाल. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is singing, एक बार देख ले चक्षे जाल, गौर बोले निताई देन सकल संभाल. When Nityananda Prabhu, just to see one drop of tear welling in your eyes, just by chanting the name of Gaura, he will give you everything. Jati Dana Vidya Bala Na Kore Apeksha. The Lord doesn't look after your caste, creed, Jati, Dana, your wealth, Vidya, your education, Bala, your strength. Na Kore Apeksha. So we have already been given enough redemption. We just need to latch onto this process, make sure we are sandwiched between devotee and the holy name, devotee and the Lord. And just make sure that we are in that arrangement. The journey is complete. I always give this example, especially for those who are from India, those who have been to Mumbai, those who have already seen or heard about Mumbai's local train journey can relate this example. In Mumbai, typically, the morning office hours, the journey to board or unboard the train is a very, very interesting experience. I've been through that. Within 10 seconds, thousands of people have to come out, thousands of people have to go in. You can YouTube and check Mumbai local train boarding and unboarding. But there is a technique how to board and unboard. What we do, those of us who are regular travelers, not nowadays, I used to travel, in the local trains. Nowadays, by Krishna's arrangement, I have other arrangements. So the technique is we make sure to position ourselves in front of the gate. Someone will take you in. So how I go in, you have no clue. Somebody will push you in. And when you have to come out, make sure you are positioning yourself in the front of the gate. Someone will push you out. I'm not saying this Krishna consciousness happens by somehow. But the message here is make sure in front and behind you have Krishna holy name and behind you have Vaishnava. So if you sandwich, then all the theoretical portion that you have heard, we will be able to practically apply and see the result within us. Susukam kartum avyayam pratyakshaavagamam dharmyam. In our own eyes, we will be able to witness this. Does it make sense, Mataji?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for a detailed answering. Prabhuji, there is in our chat, Prabhu, how here and please share few.
Mataji, your voice is a bit wobbly.
I'm saying there is a one question in our chat, our Zoom chat. Ashish.
Yeah, I see that. So if I thought there's a question from the previous people. Okay, how to reduce fear or anxiety? Please share a few suggestions. Hare Krishna. Bhajahure mana Shri Nandana Abhaya Sharanara Vindare. Abhaya Sharanara Vindare. In the second chapter of Krishna book, there's a very interesting place that Prabhupada writes. Prabhupada writes how the Lord's lotus feet is like a boat, help you cross over. Prabhupada explains the Lord's lotus feet is so sublime, it can help you cross over the ocean of nescience. And Prabhupada also gives a very interesting argument that anyone who takes shelter of the Lord's lotus feet, anyone who latches on to the Lord's lotus feet, the boat takes the passenger who took shelter and drops them off on the other side. And Prabhupada further says, sometimes people may question how the boat is coming back, who is bringing back to the boat, bringing back the boat here. The answer is, interestingly, when somebody boards the boat, somebody latches onto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord and his dear servants. Unlike in a typical rowing scenario where the boat moves, here the ocean shrinks. The size of the ocean of Samsara Sagara shrinks to the size of the calf's hoof print that even a small baby can jump over. So, Prabhupada explains, actually this is part of the prayer offered by demigods to Mother Devaki. Because Mother Devaki was in so much of fear and anxiety when she was pregnant with Krishna. She already had lost 6 child. Not just lost, she saw them killed in front of her own eyes. 7th one was a miscarriage, according to at least the external news. We know the secret. And now Krishna is going to appear. So all the demigods are appearing there to make sure Mother Devaki is in a very happy mood. So they are narrating this prayer, saying that how the Supreme Lord, who is in your belly, who is going to come out, His lotus feet is not a just ordinary one. Anyone who takes the shelter of his lotus feet, all the fear and anxiety will go away. So this is number one. Number two, in Bhagavata Mahatmya, there is a very interesting, story of Gokarna. I'm not sure if you have heard this. If you have not, please, you can find out in Bhagavad Mahatmya. The story of Dum Dukari. So Dum Dukari and Gokarna are brothers. So Dum Dukari did all sorts of nonsense, notorious activities and eventually died or been killed, and he was haunted. And he literally had a miserable time. He was not sure how to, rescue himself. And his brother, whose name was Gokarna, was a regular reciter of Srimad Bhagavatam. So told him, don't worry, I will help you. So for 7 days, Dum Dukari heard in rapt attention Srimad Bhagavatam from Gokarna. There are very minor nuances, details are explained. Like Dum Dukari, even though he was in a ghost body, he was asked to reside in a bamboo stick. And he resided within that and heard Srimad Bhagavatam. So it is explained in Bhagavad Mahatmya, in that bamboo, there were 7 notches. So every day, after hearing every day's katha, one notch used to break. And on the 7th day, when the entire Srimad Bhagavatam narration was over, in front of everybody's eyes, Dum Dukari, went back home, back to Godhead. So all the people assembled there, they witnessed, because they knew Dum Dukari was a rascal. So they said, my dear Gokarna, that we also heard Srimad Bhagavatam along with Dum Dukari for the last 7 days. But how come he went, we didn't go? At that time, Gokarna is responding, because he had a desperateness, with absolute despondency, with absolute surrender, with rapt attention, he heard Srimad Bhagavatam. And you are yet not there in that place. When you also, Srinvatam, Swakata Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana, Hridayantastohi Abhadrani, Vidunotim Suhrut Satam. This is number 2. So, when number 1, we take shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. When I say Lord's lotus feet, what it means is that we really surrender ourselves for the Lord's service. Number 2, for sure, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And number 3, Vrindavan Das Thakur explains in Chaitanya Bhagavata that anyone who takes darshan of the Lord, 3 things happens to that person. Number 1, he develops love for the Lord. Number 2, all the anomalies, sense gratificatory propensity within the heart is completely cleansed and purified. And number 3, he develops natural compassion towards all the other living entities. So definitely these all things will help you. There are many more techniques, as I said in the previous question answer, that our association with self-realized soul, a journey with them, their hearing from them, their experience will also give us hope. I wish you and pray that the fear and anxiety that we have in our life, they are, gone through this process of Krishna consciousness for you. Hare Krishna. Any other questions or comments?
Hari Bol, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So there is no more hand raised, Prabhuji. So might be there is no more questions or comments. So if you allow, so shall we wind up our call today's call?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for a very, very nectarian class. His Grace Ram Girdhari Prabhuji ki Jai. Vancha kaltaru vasha kapa sindhu bhevacha patita naam paapne bheyo Vaishnave bheyo namo nama. Vaishnav Vrind ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna, sabhi devotees ki Jai. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hari Bol.
Thank you.